Hello, my name is Morgan Gilbert, and I am from Los Angeles, California. My Polygence mentor was Arnell Blake Batoon, and I did my project on the philosophy of time. I decided to do the philosophy of time because I've always been intrigued by the idea of time travel and want to study the concept of time to see if time travel would possibly be a possibility for the future. So, what is time? More importantly, does time exist? McTaggart seems to think it doesn't. So do many other philosophers. Here are his premises. Premise 1, time essentially involves change. McTaggart's first premise that time essentially involves change is proven false when he looks at an object moving through the past, the present, and the future. He started by introducing two events, event N and event M. He derives event M as an event that occurs before event N, and therefore event M must always come before event N. If event M is occurring in the present, that this event was previously in the future and will be in the past soon. So if we're on a timeline and we're in the present and event M and event N are in the future and we're moving towards event M, then event M becomes in the present while event N stays in the future. And then when we reach event N is in the present while event M is in the past, which contradicts itself because event M has to occur before event N. However, event N is in the future while event M is in the present. So that's contradictory. Premise 2, change can only be explained in terms of a-series expressions. McTaggart states that since you can say was in the future and will be in the past, the a-series seems to involve a contradiction because the events have conflicting temporal properties. The problem is the tense forms of is, was, and will be. He argues that we have 9 predicates instead of 3, for example, will be past and was future. Premise 3, a-series expressions involve contradiction and so cannot describe reality, which was proven in premise 1 and premise 2. And then the conclusion, therefore time is not real. So I read a bunch of other philosophers' criticisms on McTaggart's theory, such as Dummett-Lowe and Falvey's, and they all agree with his conclusion, but they have different approaches. And I also agree with his conclusion, but I also have a completely different approach. I do not agree with McTaggart's tensed theory because that is part of language, which was a human-made concept. And I believe that we should keep human-made concepts out of time since time has really nothing to do with human-made concepts. So my premises are as followed. Premise 1, everything in the universe must follow at least one rule. So if we look at the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, all right triangles follow this formula. But if a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared, then one of two things must be true. 1, the shape is not a right triangle, or 2, the Pythagorean theorem does not apply to all right triangles. So if this is our triangle that we are given, and it does not fall under this formula, if a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared, then we can conclude that the shape is not a right triangle, it's an equilateral triangle. However, if we're given this triangle, which is a right triangle, and a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared, then the Pythagorean theorem does not apply to all right triangles. So one of two things must happen. 1, the Pythagorean theorem must be limited even more, so that way it applies to all right triangles except for a circumstance like this. Or 2, the Pythagorean theorem does not apply and cannot be used. 2, an object must change constantly. So if we look at a boy bouncing a ball on a train, and there's an observer over here watching a boy bounce the ball on a moving train, then the boy views the ball moving up and down like this. However, the person observing the boy bouncing the ball on the moving train views the ball bouncing diagonal down, then diagonal up. So they both view the same ball in the same amount of time, moving a different distance, which contradicts itself because if you're looking at the same exact time and the same exact ball, then it must move the same distance in that certain amount of time. Time does not follow a rule. There are no rules that really have time actually follow, like the Pythagorean theorem or gravity. Like they all follow rules, but time really does not have one. An object does not always change constantly, like I proved in the train image right here. Therefore, time does not exist. Thank you so much for watching.